Okay, hello, everyone. Welcome. Let's see, we'll start with a roll call, please, Chris.
Deanna Carlson.
Here.
Bob Barbieri.
Here.
Michael Chen.
Here.
Chris Labrise is here. Victor Alvarez.
Here.
Maria Weingart. Bob Hamill.
Here.
James Yao.
Here.
Nick Matrakis.
Here.
Jan Schaefer.
Here.
Steve Doka.
He's here.
Speak up, Steve. We can see you. We can't hear you.
We can't,
Okay.
we can see your lips moving, but not hear you. You need to unmute yourself.
He's working on it. Okay.
See someone for Maria?
I think that's Steve.
Sent you a I invited you to unmute if that helps on your iPad.
Thank you. Thank you, Tucker.
There we go. Very
There we
good.
go.
Okay, motion to seat Steve then for Maria, please.
So move.
Second. Second, Nick, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay, thank you. Just a motion to approve our minutes from the Jan 14th meeting. Any edits or changes? Otherwise, we can have a motion to approve. Changes? Motion?
Motion.
Motion? Nick, second?
Second.
Second, Victor, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay. Well, we are here and ready to go for the budget. I'm going to make some opening comments. Josh, I was going to turn it over to you to do a review, if you wouldn't mind, you and Ann, and then we will go in the order of the agenda after the general overview, health and human services, then the library. So as we've discussed, I think over the past few years, the town financials remain in very good shape as we kick off this budget review. A few highlights and then some areas I think that this board needs to address this month and throughout the process. So a couple of highlights. So these are things that people ask me all the time, so that's why I'm singling them out. Our average interest rate that we pay on our current outstanding debt is an average of 3.67 after we've refinanced everything we could when rates were lower, you all remember. So this has helped our taxpayers avoid millions of dollars in interest expense. Our amount raised through taxation has increased at a rate below the rate of inflation, and I would say many surrounding towns, on average for the past 6 years. Through fiscal year 24, the New Canaan amount raised through taxation has increased on an average annual rate of 1.6%. Inflation during that time has risen 3.79%. The calculation is we've helped taxpayers avoid about $32 million of property taxes during this period. And I like to remind everybody, those taxes are avoided forever. That curve is here now, not here. So that's important to keep in mind. The unassigned general fund sits at approximately $20 million and on target per our guidelines. However, I will say we will discuss this throughout the process, particularly in May, June, when we do the mill rate and do the analysis. As our budget increases, so too must our general fund, as the guideline suggests. Our school district was ranked #1 after, I would say, a steady decade of process climbing up the ladder to reach the top spot. So congratulations to the district, the students, the parents, and everybody. Board of Ed, of course. The Playhouse Movie Theater won an award for the best refurbished theater in the country. Our pensions remain overfunded, fully funded, overfunded. Our other assets, parks, and facilities continue to meet the high usage and demands that our residents require. And I think personally, our downtown has never looked better. I could go on, but suffice it to say, we strive as a board and a town to deliver value and results for every dollar we collect and manage. Now, a few comments regarding this budget. First, let me call out and thank all the departments for the work they've done to prepare their budgets for the review this month, especially those who came in with year-over-year decreases, Jen, amazing, and many who are presenting year-over-year increases of 1, 2, less than 3%. I think we have the highest number of departments that we have ever had that are asking for low single-digit increases if you've gone through the book. And kudos to the Board of Selectmen. Along with supporting our assets in all of our departments, I would like to propose and establish 3 goals for this board to deliver on this month for this budget. #1, lower the amount raised by taxation. The budget that has been sent to us has an increase of 6.9%. This needs to come down, I recommend over 200 basis points or approximately $3 million through potential cuts and/or more revenue or the collection of delinquent taxes. Josh will be keeping a scorecard as we go through this work this month on any cuts we make or other areas where we'll have an opportunity to reduce expenses and reduce the amount raised by taxation. Secondly, lower the amount of bonded capital expense. The current proposal, as you've seen in the book in front of us, has a $23.3 million of capital, excluding capital expense for sewer, made up of two parts, bonded and taxpayer supported. The bonded amount of 21.6 is high. We need to have a few years where we budget and spend below $20 million to help us keep future annual debt expenses at reasonable levels. We know the high school rolls off, I believe, in next year. So we're starting to see a few things come off. Irwin, I think, came off this year or last year. However, we still need to watch this on an annual basis. So we need to be looking at opportunities to reduce the bonded capital. We also have to prepare for future large potential capital investments if needed. And I would also suggest sort of 2A here. We need to cancel or complete previously funded projects that aren't started or complete, but have been budgeted for and approved. Number 3, lower the amount of taxpayer supported capital expense. We need to reduce this from the $1.7 million that's requested in the budget. That compares with $384,000 this year. That's a huge increase. We've got to look at that. Reducing that will help lower the amount raised by taxation, of course. So we'll definitely want to take a look at that. So those are the 3 goals I would recommend. Let's find this a way this month to achieve those goals while reducing our operating costs and capital, but maintaining our great school district, keeping our fire, police, health, and safety services and support at continued high levels, and preserve all the physical assets that we have in this town. So with those comments, I'd like to thank the board in advance for all their help and work that we will be doing here for the next month. I'll turn it over to you, Josh and Ann, to give us an overview, and then we'll go over to health and then human services in the library. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for having me. So this process kind of started back in late October when we sent a budget request to departments, and they came back with their operating, their capital, the kind of achievements of the past few years and their goals for the next couple years. And that's in your budget book, as well as their performance metrics that they track for each of their departments. After Thanksgiving, I believe, we started our meetings with Deanna and Tucker and the director of HR, Cheryl, and myself. Throughout those meetings, we really took a close look at all of the department's budgets, literally line by line, going back 10 years to present and seeing what the actual need is. And during that process, we cut about $610,000 from the original ask. After that, into January, we went to the Board of Selectmen and had departments come and give their presentations. And during that time, took a close look at bonded capital and shaved off about $680,000 from bonded as a net. It looks like if you look at the budget number to the budget number from before and after Board of Selectmen, it looks like it went up by about $140,000. But in truth, during that time, we're kind of truing up some actuals. We got the ADAC for the pension, so that got added in, and that kind of threw things off. But in reality, they took about $100,000 off of what that was if you kind of filter out those increases that were kind of forced. And right now we are, and I'm just going to share my screen right now.
Oops.
All right.
What?
So hopefully you can see this.
Mhm.
I will try to blow it up. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
So right now at a overall expenditure year over year, we're looking at 4.67%. We have the town side department operations at 3.29 and town overall at 3.76. That includes the ISF transfer. It's about a 5% increase over last year. A Board of Ed they're operating at 4.7% and their ISF at 4.56. There's a couple other Board of Ed items that the town pays for, which is actually dropping by about 5% because that's mainly due to us bonding their IT lease, which is in that number versus paying for it out of the general fund. And yes, as Todd mentioned, tax supported capital is up. Let's just say 1.3 million. During the Board of Finance review process, that's kind of our time to take a look at what are our fund balances, where can we either find other funding sources, whether it's through extra duty or fund balances in tax supported capital. It used to be through bond premium fund balance, and kind of offset some of those numbers to bring them down. So hopefully by the end of this review, we'll have that number much closer to what the average has been over the past few years. Debt service, we're keeping flat. We're going to bond in March, I believe, a couple days before the Board of Finance votes on the budget. So we'll probably have a couple small updates at that point, including taking in bond premium as a revenue item. And we'll only really have that actual number, I believe, on the 4th of March. Right now, there's no bond premium listed as a revenue item, and we'll come to that in a bit. So on the revenue side of things, we're seeing some small increases. We've seen good performance on building permits and conveyance fees over the past year and this current year, so we're ticking those up by a little bit. Parking is also doing well, and so that's seeing just a slight increase. Investment income, right now we have as a decrease of 200,000, about 10%. And we'll kind of see how that goes through the process, and hopefully we'll hear from the treasurer during the general government presentation in a couple weeks, I think. And the other revenue, you see that coming down in there is really the major factor is the transfer in that is for bond premium. Last year it was for ARPA funds as well, and closing the dog fund, I believe. So that's that differential, that 2.7 million, and hopefully some of that will be shrunk by the time the Board of Finance votes on it. And so that kind of filters out to the amount to be raised by taxation, like Todd said, is sitting at 6.9% right now. Any questions? That's kind of.
I think most people have it at this point. I know you've got the books. There's a detail on the capital as well, bonded and taxpayer funded in the other pages. But Ann, anything else to add?
No, Josh did a good cover on it. As he said, as we get closer in the next week or two, we're going to fine tune those fund balances to see where we have reserves in tax supported capital and premium.
Okay.
I should also add that we recently sent out as we kind of do around this time, the list of tax supported capital and bonded capital projects to departments to really get a sense of monies that they can close out, projects that they can close out and return some money back to the tax supported capital fund balance to offset some of those current year tax supported capital. So we're working through that right now with departments, and hopefully we'll have some number to come back with and bring down the number of the tax supported capital for this year.
Okay, well, as I said, I think what we'll do is throughout this process, you'll keep a running sheet of anything revenue-wise, cost-wise that we just mentioned, and we'll see where we are, how close we are to the goals we want to have. Any other questions? Anybody? For now? All right, great overview,
We're gonna
Jeff.
get back to these later on, right?
Oh, yeah, no, this is just to orient everybody where we are, and then let's get to work the next few weeks. And then in the early March, we'll do a little more work. We'll have better data for some of these things. We'll have actual information, and then we'll resolve anything or do everything we can by the time we vote and pass it on to the town council in March. Okay.
All right. Well, and we'll get a chance to talk about pensions, contributions, and so on.
Yeah, we do that now, and I know we do that.
We're actually looking to try and get a meeting on your February 25th to have Russell come in with the RPAC, and then also follow up with the Board of Finance.
Okay. All right, that would be great.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because the question is, why, if we're overfunded, why do we have to put in such large amounts to the?
So it's the question every year.
True.
It's because of their liability. And we don't, it's not a closed plan. So we continuously have insurance claims with increase in insurance claims and also contracts and the COLAs that are coming down. So although our basis is saying it's overfunded, from a liability factor, that's higher because it's not a closed plan. And Russell, and we can get USI to come in and talk about that.
Remember, I asked this question last year. What did we fund last year? 500?
500, and I think we're up to 700 and something now. It increased.
So I asked the question, what if we were only funded, 100% funded? And the amount we would have had to put in from an actuarial basis was 2 million.
Mhm.
The reason we put in 500 is because we're overfunded. Don't forget that.
Yes.
So that's important. So that's why we'd be putting in a lot more if we're only just 100% funded.
Exactly.
So
Because of these contingencies.
we'll save that for our meeting at the end of the month, but we
Yeah.
should go through exactly
we
that
should
and
go
have them
through.
explain that to us all again. Okay,
Okay.
very good. Well, okay, well then with that, thank you, Josh and Ann. We'll start with Health and Human Services. Jen, I think you're first. If you're looking, that's page 8 in your book. Say again, Jen? Okay. Thank you for coming. We're ready. Great to see you.
Thanks. Jen Ileson, Director of Health. So let's start at the beginning. Mission statement, it is the mission of the Health Department to control preventable diseases through education, inspections, and monitoring by enforcing federal, state, and local laws, codes, and regulations for maintaining and promoting public health. By Connecticut general statute, every local health department has to provide a basic health program. They've adopted the 10 essential public health services as the basic statutory health program requirement. And those are the list of the 10 essential services. Summary of major health department responsibilities. Like I said, we're responsible for enforcing the public health code and all Connecticut general statutes pertaining to public health. We license and inspect all food service establishments, hair and nail salons, and all cosmetology businesses, public pools, which includes condo pools and club pools, septic and refuse trucks, private wells, daycares, lead inspections, and septic inspections, soil testing. We review all building permits for properties on septic and or private well. We're responsible for public health emergency preparedness, CDC required deliverables, provide case management of New Canaan children with an elevated blood lead level of 3.5 micrograms per deciliter or greater, manage infectious diseases, provide written comments for all P&Z and Inland Wetland Commission applications for properties on septic and or commercial establishments that are licensed by us. And we respond to and investigate various complaints regarding landlord-tenant disputes, rodent, general housing, trash, that stuff. Why is this freezing? It's now frozen. Oh,
It's going.
yeah. Okay, so I promised you last year, do an open gov year over year, so it's not a fiscal year, but November 1st, 2023 is when we launched. And this goes to November 1st, 2024. There's, this includes health, building, engineering, P&Z, and wetlands. And you'll see the revenue inspections, records, and permits created in that year. The next will show what the health department's part of that in that year was. And then at the bottom, you'll see the counts by department. So that's 640 was just our health department individual permits. That wasn't the ones that we also had to review and approve building permits on. And as you see, credit cards, the most used method of payment, which until OpenGov, we did not accept. So that was huge for contractors and homeowners alike.
Yeah, before you jump, I'm sorry, go back to the statistics, the 1.8 million, that's 1.8 million collected November 1 and November 1.
Uh-huh.
Okay, how would that compare? Is that from a prior year? I appreciate it's not a fiscal year, but is that within 12 months? Is it more or less?
For the health department, it went up P and Z and wetlands. I'm not sure about
Okay.
the building department. I'm sure theirs went up as
But
well.
it facilitates what you.
But that revenue, that 1.85, 275,000 of that is also affordable housing fee and state fees that come out. So it's shown as revenue in our accounts, but those accounts then have to go to those other entities, which also helps us see how much money we're sending to Hartford for, the state education fee and the DEP fees, like that building engineer, wetlands and P and Z, that fee's also added. And P and Z's affordable housing fee on new construction. So,
But did it meet your goals? I mean, this was,
oh yeah, you'll
you
see
happy
it
with the?
when
how
we
it-
get to my revenue at the end of what I'm asking to go up, of why I'm asking for it to go up, of the increase from.
But it's made the job easier as well. That was the question.
100%.
okay,
I mean,
good.
like today, town hall was closed, but we were still able to do everything very easily remotely. So, and the contractors can do it 24/7. They don't have to worry about it. And they don't have to waste time driving to just simply drop off forms and pay.
Good.
So it's made life so much better on every way. Here's inspection and permit data. As you'll see, like for the building permits we reviewed for health, the actual from the implementation of OpenGov jumped from 397 to 565. So that shows you the difference. For the FEP grant, this was the new 5-year cycle started. This is the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Grant from state that comes from the CDC. That started on July 1. Now, because of what's going on federally, we're not really sure what's going to happen with this grant. But so if it does go away, I did the work before, I'll just go back to doing it again. I am not asking for that amount to be absorbed by the town budget at all. It's not a big deal to lose a 4-hour-a-week person. And like I said, I did the work previously. It's no big deal. So we won't find out for probably another 60 days or so. And these are the deliverables from the CDC regarding public health preparedness for public health. We meet twice a month regionally, the 14 towns, all the health directors in their public health. And we do tabletop exercises, full scale exercises, etc. Community health is medical specialty. It focuses on the physical and mental well-being of people in specific geographic region. This is an important subsection of public health, includes initiatives to help community members maintain and improve their health, prevent the spread of infectious diseases, and prepare for natural disasters. So Shannon has been doing a great job with my nurse Ellen at doing a lot of community programming around town, not only at Lapham, but at the library. We do at Schoolhouse. We do suicide prevention training every month at the library. We do blood pressure and blood sugar clinics weekly at Lapham, and we also do the same thing at Schoolhouse. We've, partnered with local doctors in town doing free skin cancer screenings, both at Lapham and at Schoolhouse, as well as our weekly, coffee talks of different topics. We do talks with that Stay and Put will sponsor as well. They'll sponsor the food portion of it for the Lunch and Learn. So that's been very popular. These are just some more of the topics that we've done. And Shannon also got certified as a Choices Medicare counselor at Aggie's request from Lapham. So, and they paid for it. So that was great. So every Thursday, Shannon did the Medicare counseling at Lapham all day. And we started a walking club, again, something free, something easy to get people out of the house, isolation and exercise. It's good. It's been very popular. And they have now a good group going. So we're looking forward to the warmer weather where they can, get back to it and pretty much over winter at this point. And these are just more of the things that we have done. We'll do like anything that, people ask for, from, talks on marijuana to the osteoporosis. Next Friday, we're doing one on heart health. So if you have nothing to do on Valentine's Day and you'd like to spend it with the health department, come down to Lapham at 11 a.m. And I didn't start tracking the attendance until July, like officially, because our commission asked for it. But since we started using Everbridge, when Deanna came in, it was very big about communicating to the public, and it's been huge, and we see it in our numbers. We have almost 1,900 in our health group, and people are very responsive. They didn't know we offered a lot of things, so it's been very, very popular. And we were already paying for Everbridge, so it's free. And again, didn't cost anything, but it's a great way to communicate. So we'll send out notices through Everbridge about what's up and coming for people to know. Or if like the community foundation asks me, to send out the behavioral health survey or, things like that, I'll do that as well. So if you're not signed up, sign up. I can do it for you.
Good shout out.
Now to the numbers you all actually care about. Overall, it's down minorly, $233, so it's 0.04%. The biggest driver of it going down was the reduction in part-time budget. So Dr. Reed, our medical director, retired. In finding his replacement, we did a salary survey first, and that came down with the reduction. And then my public health nurse currently is in the 5th year of being on grants. That grant is ending. There was no new grants last year of the previous administration, and obviously this new administration, I'm not going to be counting on any other grants. So what we did was take the clerical staff and part-time that I no longer need because of OpenGov and just simply transition the nurse to that. And so it comes out to 10.5 hours a week, which we can make work because we combined, the blood sugar and blood pressure into one thing, and, the talks. So I'm talking with my nurse and Shannon, I think that would be adequate. So, but we still had a reduction in part-time with that of 18,000. Lowered overtime to get back to pre-pandemic original, what's really reflective. And then we also had a reduction in office supplies further again from last year's reduction, is again a reflection of OpenGov and not mailing things and not doing any of that jazz. So, and the increase in the full-time is my staff are union. They get a 2.75% COLA raise. And then for the revenue, it's froze again. Okay, so revenue for the plan review, that's the building permit plans review. So last year was 60,000 was adopted. We had almost 80,000 was not without a full year in OpenGov because we were missing July, August, September, October. So just to be cautious, but I still want to increase it, I put it up to 70,000, $10,000 increase. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. I'd like to get a full fiscal year in OpenGov and really see. And in restaurant permits, you'll see an increase because of the fee change that we did last May that was advertised for a month, went through Board of Selectmen, all that. So overall, the revenue I'm requesting an 8.37% increase on the revenue side. So
Any
that's
questions?
it.
Great job.
I have a question. How big is your staff?
There's 4 of us, full-time.
Oh,
We're a lean but mighty department.
Yeah, they do a lot for a small group.
We like to work. I like to be busy, makes the day go.
another question is how many people do you have on your email blast list?
1900 almost, 1898 to be exact. So if any of you are not on it, I can add you. I'm an administrator.
I want to be added.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not on it.
You can know, we are training to fish. We don't do it people to fish.
Yeah. So, oh,
You
you mean
go-
you want me to fish?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
Jen just gets
For
it done.
people.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I mean, and they're
out
blast.
for everyone, you just go to the town hall website,
Okay.
sign up for alerts, you click on the red button, you have to create an account again, even if you've already signed up for emergency alerts, and then it gives you
Right.
5 other all
choose what
5
you want, yeah,
departments, choose
yeah.
what you'd like to get.
You
My
definitely want-
newsletter
you
is one
definitely
of
want
them,
public-
so you are not getting my newsletter either.
Wow, wow.
For something, at least sign up for Deanna's because it gives a snapshot of each department of what's going on.
Yep.
It really, and it's quick. It's only a page or two. It's not the New York Times.
I keep it to 250 words or
Okay.
to
all
300
right.
I'm
words.
not gonna
I'll do
tell.
that too.
Pictures and everything.
This was her campaign promise and she kept
Oh, that was good.
it.
I am not going to point out to Tiger that Victor is not looking at.
He's on there too.
I almost had to block him and unsubscribe.
I got so much,
Sometimes
my email is so crowded. I don't
call me
have
if you
people.
need.
Then definitely don't
Essential
sign up for
stuff.
Tiger.
Essential stuff.
No, I just said it.
I do have a question. though.
Yep.
So when the emergency management people send out a blast, it goes to everybody, whether they're signed up or not, right?
Yes.
Correct.
So why can't you piggyback on that for emergency messages?
Yeah, We-
Spam?
we,
You have to opt in. You have to opt in.
For your messages, you have to opt in.
I'm leaving
except
Deanna's.
for emergencies. So
For-
we
for-
utilized that service initially when we established it for like 2 months, just so that people were aware of it, but we cannot use that emergency list long-term because it's really only supposed to be an emergency.
All right, so what kind of emergency messages do you put out?
Well, we send out the normal, what we're
Yeah.
doing, the
Yeah,
community health.
it's what you're doing kind of, because I
Yeah.
see those. So a true emergency.
A true emergency, I
You
would
would
do it
go
like I
back-
did during COVID.
Yeah, like, yeah, so bird flu suddenly breaks out. and you know,
A real,
that's
true
what-
emergency.
Okay, so in an emergency, the
We would do
people-
like we did during COVID, where we did
people
the
would be
blast.
notified what's going on.
Then
Okay,
you'd be more involved again.
yeah, okay, all right, just,
That's why, I was already so familiar with Everbridge because
just want to make, sure.
we were doing this for so
Just want
long.
to make sure that Victor knows, in case the
Oh,
price
poor
burns
Victor.
down.
Wow.
Wrong about the bird flu, please. I did my pandemic. We're done.
Well, everybody in the staff worked really hard because Everbridge isn't as user-friendly
No.
as like Constant Contact, but
Yeah.
it was free. So we
like free.
we wanted free. And so
Other questions for Jen? Anyone online? Michael, we can't see hand. You want, actually, you don't need to share anymore.
No, we're good. I'm good.
Steve? Bob, anybody?
Nope, nope.
Revenue up, expenses down.
We like
I get a gold star.
Gold star. Bob's gonna send you one right now. I mean, all right, thank you very much. We're good. Let's do another question. We're good. Thank you so much. Great job.
Have a good night.
All right, come back to follow.
Thank you.
I know, I read ahead. I did, I read ahead.
Hey, everyone.
How are you doing?
How are you?
We're great.
Yeah, I didn't open my,
This week's like spring training for us. Next week's the real season. You make it easy.
Okay. I hit share. Did it not share?
Nope.
Okay, hold on.
That's
Ah,
it.
there you go. Full
And you
screen
just might
and
want
you're
to
ready to go.
introduce yourself for everybody online.
Yes, I am Marcy Rand. I am the Director of Human Services for the town of New Canaan.
Marcy, might pull that mic closer to yourself.
little closer?
That's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
So our mission statement, Human Services is here to support the well-being of all New Canaan residents by creating programs and providing resources that address their developmental needs while helping them access essential social services and resources. Our caseload this year, those numbers are a little off. I tried to do a year to date rather than a fiscal year, so you guys could get an idea of our caseload increasing. So this year, adult and senior clients, year to date, it is, oh, I corrected it at 231. Youth and family, we have 157 families with 162 youths. Year to date, we have 19 domestic violence cases. Our Life Reimagined, that is a monthly program. I host that at the Lapham Center. There are 12 to 16 people who attend that monthly, and we're up to 92 already this year, and we were at 110 last year. So it's gotten really popular. And, I'm glad that I offer this, but it's unfortunate that it is so popular. We have a grief support program at Waveney through hospice, and I lead that, and we have about 10 to 14 people consistently coming on Tuesdays. And that number is a total of 336 people year to date have come through. And like I said, those are 10 to 14 weekly, so those aren't 336 individual people. Energy assistance, we helped 97 households, and renters rebate 75 households. So you can see that energy assistance, electricity has gotten really expensive. And we've had 97 versus last year's 76. So it's considerably higher.
Just to make sure I understand, so you're saying year to date through like last week or something like that? It's like just using the first one, the adult senior clients, 231,
Was as of
like Feb 1 or something
that was as of actually this morning.
this morning.
Yep,
Okay.
I had our
But it's
Human
running way
Services
ahead,
Commission. It's
way
run-
ahead of
it
prior
is.
year. Okay, I just want to
Yeah.
make sure I understood that. That's not compared to the same time last year. That is
No,
compared to
this-
the full year last
yes.
year. Okay, wow.
Yep.
So
Okay.
what's going on?
Wow.
We are just, I don't know if that we are getting out more often, and I do a lot of home visits. I work a lot with Adult Protective Services, and I'll show you that stuff on another slide, but I just think word is getting out, and we're just getting more and more clients. And I have to say that the Canaan Parish and Millport, the women who run that are great about referring. So before, evictions and stuff like that happen. So we've just had an increase.
Yeah, because you've been increasing usage since, steadily over the 3
Steadily.
years. So, yeah. Okay, thank you.
What is Life Reimagined?
Imagined, it's sort of a social group. It's for people who have retired and who kind of are a little bit lost in what it is and they want to do with sort of the rest of their lives. And it's helping find purpose. It's helping with social skills, and it's gotten quite popular. We do a little cognitive brain games at the end to keep you sharp. You're invited if you want to come. Anybody's invited. It's a community center, so. The state resources that Human Services does access is the Department of Social Services, the Social Security Administration, the Southwestern Connecticut Agency on Aging, the SNAP program, the Department of Children and Families, Adult Protective Services, the Community Action Agency of Connecticut, Husky and Medicaid, and the Renters Rebate for Elderly and Disabled. And here is another example of our usage. Our food pantry participation has really increased. We are, again, I did year to date just to try to show you guys that we've been in it, 6 or 7 months now, and we are at 1041 households, 868 shoppers. And last year was 1,400 in total. So, we're really increasing. Our
Is that
program.
also a function of the increase in affordable housing? Is that really what's driving it?
With that and just the increases in our clients, so our clients become our clients through a financial assessment. And when we do these financial assessments, we can decide if they've qualified then for the food pantry. And most likely if they are using our services or we're helping them with Medicaid or Husky or SNAP, they will qualify for our food pantry as well. So with the increase in our clients comes the increase in the use of the food pantry. I tried to break down our programs sort of into categories. We do advocacy and wellness and outreach and financial assistance. The advocacy is protective services and conservatorship hearings. I hold the bereavement group. We help with emergency response. We do evictions. We are working on a post-action crisis team, and we are available for short-term and crisis counseling as well. Our wellness, I am a choices counselor. I also participate with our program, our department participates with the wellness, employee wellness. That is every other year, and that is coming up in October. I am a veteran and municipal agent, and I keep a vulnerable population registry. Right now we have about 86 people on that. That they have to request to be on. If it's really, really warm, if it's really, really cold, if there's, a storm coming, I check in and I just make sure that they have a place to go, or if they have fans, or if they have water, family members. Our financial assistance is our back to school programs. Sorry about that. We help with the energy assistance and the renter's rebate. We do the food pantry. Our outreach is holiday programs, the programming at Lapham Center. Jackie is a member of the New Canaan Abuse Prevention Partnership. Our whole department is part of the New Canaan Behavioral Health Alliance. And Jackie does a youth and family newsletter, and she is also our preschool social service consultant. And interrupt me if I'm talking too quickly.
No, it's perfect.
When I get nervous, I tend to
This is good.
Okay, so here are our outside agency grants for 2025. The Get About will be receiving 50,000, 25,000 will be coming out of New Canaan's budget, and 25,000 will be coming out of the Connecticut DOT grant. That is definite. We have that until 2028. So that has been earmarked, and we don't have to worry about any of the grants for that. Kids in Crisis, the funding will be the same as last year, a total of 96,000. However, 70,000 will come from the New Canaan budget, and 16,000 will come from the Youth Services Bureau grant, and 10,000 will come from our opioid settlement grant. And the DVCC will be receiving $10,000. New Canaan Cares will be receiving 18,000, 5,000 from New Canaan, 5,000 from the Youth Services grant, and 8,000 from the opioid settlement. Meals on Wheels, 5,000. And New Canaan Urgent Assessment, I did not get a chance to change the title of that. It is now called The Assessment at Silver Hill. They actually asked for 40,000 rather than 50,000, and 15,000 will be coming from New Canaan, and 25,000 will be coming from the opioid settlement. So the total budget for the outside agencies will be 130,000. And that number for Silver Hill, that may even come down more, I'm hoping. That's a discussion I'll have to have about insurance and how exactly they are going to be billing insurance, and if that is going to be a question. They may want to say, we have to do insurance first. If your insurance doesn't cover it, then we will provide it. But that's a conversation that we have to have with Silver Hill.
Opioid settlement, a one-time,
No,
one-year thing? or
No,
will it-
we have until 2035, I think. And that, yeah, and that number seems to be fluctuating. I think just recently I think Purdue Pharmacologies or something got hit with like 7 billion or something. So yeah, we don't actually, we don't know exactly what that number is or when it's going to end, but currently it's scheduled for 2035. We have that money.
So that number should only go potentially up with new settlements. That number shouldn't come down, should it?
And it won't come down.
Yeah, it should
I
only.
don't know how much higher it
Yeah.
will be because, all the different towns and different states, everybody gets a little piece. So
And if it's movable in between, it doesn't have to be opioid or drug related.
it does.
Oh, it does.
It does.
So even within like New Canaan Cares or within like Kids in Crisis, it has to be a drug related
Correct.
issue.
Yep.
Okay.
But all those organizations do drug-related
Right.
programming, so, that's why it was.
Yeah, they do have, and they have a lot of checks and balances that Anne has. There's a questionnaire they send out every year to make
I
sure that
don't know
we're.
if the Kids in Crisis included other issues other than drug related issues. Okay.
Have some new programs coming up. We do have a donation button. I've been speaking of it for the last 4 months, but it really is going to happen in March. So I'll have something for your newsletter finally. But it'll be fantastic because it will be like a drop-down menu and people will be able to use their credit cards and they'll be able to donate. Right now, we just accept checks and that's it. So this is going to be fantastic. We're going to have a drop-down menu for the food pantry, most needed, back to school and holiday fund, as well as domestic violence. And people can decide what they want to give their money to. Starting in March on the second Monday of every month, Catholic Charities is going to be coming to do a monthly budgeting program. It's going to be like open office hours. That is something that we don't provide, but we think it would be really beneficial to offer. So they offer family loan programs as well as like budgeting services. So for the residents who have a hard time getting to Catholic Charities, we're going to have an office open for them once a month. And I am in talks with Laurel House to bring a program to help residents obtain competitive employment as well. And that will be an open office type of situation.
On domestic violence, if you have to provide temporary shelter, who do you work with on that?
Domestic Violence Crisis Center will do that. And now, let's see, I feel like I put this in the wrong order and I want to apologize. I'm going to skip a page and then I'll go back and explain if that, our expenditures. They've gone down for a total of 8%. We have myself and one other full-time employee, and then we have Enza, who is full-time, but she sort of spreads herself between our office and finance. But she does stay in our office in order to answer phones or be at the door if for some reason Jackie and I are both out. I've earmarked a part-time salary. We don't know how big our department's needs are going to become. I mean, we are consistently getting larger and larger. So if we do feel like we need some extra help, we would like to have that option. And then I think the other thing that is standing out to you guys probably is this public health services, the 15,000. All of that money was the town used to give about 22,000 a year. We sort of stockpiled it, and I'll go back to this slide. In 2023, we had a total of 107,000 in it, so the town decided that it wasn't necessary to continue to provide that, and so we've been spending that down. 2023, we spent 34,000. 2024, we spent 30,806. And year to date, it says 18,418, but the last 3 days, Jackie and I have both helped with rent and some utilities, and that's been about another 3,000. So that is, like I said, year to date. So we are on par for being about $36,000 to $40,000, and we have only about 28,000 left. So that is our reasoning for asking for 15,000. Not only does that cover utility help and rent help for people who've like lost a job or are in between jobs, it also does cover our eviction process, which we do have to pay for storage if the people who have been evicted don't come and pick up their items.
I mean, everything you said, more activity, more needs, more demand, but yet you're asking for less.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, we've sort of got creative with our grants, and we decided to be a little more efficient. We had this youth services grant that was being given piecemeal to a lot of wonderful organizations, but it was like just sort of a drop in a bucket. And we've decided to use that grant, like we divide it 3 ways and actually make an impact while bringing down our budget a little bit out of the town side. So we just got creative with this grant, with grants.
We appreciate it.
They, and they were available, and we just had to sit for a second and, not panic and just get it done. So that's what we've done.
So that is one thing that is sort of missing here. You have revenue coming, grants coming in, right? And then maybe donations.
Our donations, yes, they go into our
So
food
they're
pantry
covering, I'm
fund.
guessing that's covering.
That covers
Helps.
100% of our food pantry.
Yeah,
We
things
don't
like
get,
that, yeah,
we don't use
yeah.
any town money for our food pantry.
Okay. Gotcha.
But going forward, it can be used for other things besides.
Whichever they
for-
choose, I
yeah.
suppose, whatever that's, yeah,
Yes.
that's great.
Really hope it's popular. We're hedging our bets on this.
Just on the 51,000 part-time, is that targeted for anything in particular? One department or another, one area or another, or you just think you need the help and
I
there's
have
plenty to do. So-
I have a feeling we're going to need the help. I mean, we were busy when we were 3 full-time, and we're down to 2 full-time social workers. So I think, with Avalon being purchased, and that may not be all affordable immediately, but that will also start to increase our need. I think that I see the part-time person as being someone who can help with like state applications and stuff, and giving Jackie and I more time to do casework, like our energy assistance programs and renter's rebate and all the time consuming state applications.
Okay.
And I think that's it. That's
Great summary. Thank you. Anything else you want to cover?
She's got one
Yeah.
thing to announce.
oh my gosh. So yes, I am now officially, I don't know if you guys know therapy lingo, but I am an LCSW, a licensed clinical social worker. I got my degree 25 years ago and decided, I'm never going to need that. I don't need that. And then I sort of retaught myself graduate school over the last 3 months.
Congratulations.
And tested. I didn't even ask how close I was. I knew I needed 103 questions correct. I didn't ask how many I got correct. All it said was passed, and I will.
That's all we need to know.
That's all I need to know.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Again, stop sharing if you wouldn't mind, just so we can see the team that's online and if there are any hands up
Okay.
while we're waiting. Any questions here?
All the agency
Jana?
expenditures, so that's down because
okay.
there's more
Grant.
grant money. It's amazing.
Amazing.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm not.
What?
I can do a great group. I cannot do Zoom or math. It's still like, I don't know. It's not allowing me to do anything. Like it's blank. Oh, right there. Yes.
Now we know.
You just need.
Sorry.
Okay, Michael, Bob, Steve, any questions, feedback here?
No
No?
questions. Nice presentation, though.
Yeah, nice presentation.
Thank Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. I think we're good.
No, we're good.
Thank you very much.
Have a great
That was
night.
terrific.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, and is Ellen on?
She is coming. We were 8:30 slated, so I know. I'm just texting her. I said, I think they're running. Your car, right here somewhere.
Gotta love it when you have good news, right?
As I said, it's all you're on, you're up. That's why I say.
Coming in hot.
Gonna be hard acts to follow, huh?
Mhm.
You guys did such a great job.
Any comment? Opening comment?
No, I'll
Okay.
support.
Okay, okay, okay.
There's no summary on the revenue from the grants.
That's why I was asking. I'm sure it's been cleared by these guys.
Carol, are you sharing your screen or is Ellen? It'll be
To
Ellen.
see how many grants. are-
We can ask for that.
Yeah.
Take it easy on. They're doing amazing work.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's just the microphone.
The liaison.
You missed them. We had a- Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. That's the way to do that. Yeah. Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, you know. Make a habit of it.
Take your time. We are ready when you are.
Okay.
We all have your presentation. We have your numbers. So
We'll just have to get in here, join the Zoom. Probably need to join GuestNet.
was our opening 2 years ago
In February?
this week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Like this week,
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looking at the, and I remember it was about 62 degrees. It was
Oh.
amazing.
Yes, it was.
Right, right.
Then we were like, it's crazy. We're nuts, but it kept. It was such a warm winter.
Shortly after it flooded.
Yeah, well, yeah, another year.
Thanks. Thanks, Nick. Thanks.
Think about that.
Available.
It'll be GuestNet.
Yep.
Yep.
Got it.
Right, and this was the 1:30. It would be nice maybe somewhere.
By the way, finding everything on your tablets, okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Still old school.
I know.
I need notes. I have notes. I have, you know. Yeah, I do, of course. Or I can email it to you. Does that help?
Thank you. Gonna share my screen.
Better turn your volume off. As we hear you twice.
Just in case. Not. You sound like you have a cold. Walking in from.
Okay, so I'm gonna share from here. And
There you
I'm
go.
gonna go here.
Full screen. There you go. Okay.
Okay,
Good. Okay.
thank you. Sorry for that delay.
No, no worries.
You were better before. Somebody went. Go back to the other one.
Okay.
My slides are showing. Hang on a sec. Go from here,
There.
from here, for me, right? No, okay. But I don't see my notes,
Oh, okay.
so it's okay, I can wing it. Probably better to have my
No,
notes.
use your notes.
Use your notes. You did a lot of work to get prepared.
I got them. Okay, good thing I play the piano. Double teaming myself here. Okay,
And improvising.
improvising.
Everybody has two screens anymore.
Thank you. Let me say, okay, that we can be a part of the recording. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you bearing with me on that tech piece there. Really, thank you so much for having us here. What I'd really love to do is just to be able to go through our presentation. It'll be about 20 minutes and then we'll take all your questions at the end. Hopefully you have the information you need. So as you probably know, I was appointed CEO of the library in September and Cheryl was appointed our library director. So we've had about 5 months at the helm of an organization that has gone through some pretty dramatic changes over the past few years. Sure, I'm hitting my notes. Okay, well, as you probably know, I'm a 23-year resident of the town of New Canaan, former director of development and chairman of the capital campaign, and Cheryl is our former vice president of operations. She basically ran the operation while Lisa was out getting the new building built. So together we were part of the core leadership team that really helped to set the vision and create the library's future. Collectively, we bring about 20 years of experience in operations, finance, and management to the job. So we're excited to be here. A lot went very well for us in 23 and 24. It was our first full fiscal year of operations in the new building. We continue to, oh, sorry, you need to see ahead, right? There we go. Thank you. We continue to exceed our own expectations and goals. So we have about 1,600 to 1,800 people coming through our doors every day, making us one of the most heavily trafficked institutions in town. So we're looking at about a 70 to 100% increase in traffic since the days of operating in the old building. And I think that's not really a figure that was planned for.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the daily number you just said? You broke up.
1,600 to 1,800. Am I not getting the scroll? Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so that's really not a figure that we had planned for. Our biggest challenge has been trying to be responsive to this really incredible demand, and it's required a pretty massive organization-wide effort and a lot of creativity. So since opening our doors, I'd say we've gained many insights, including into how our new building works, its systems, how best to modulate our energy use, what is the right makeup of program and services. And I think we've gained a greater understanding of the ways in which people want to use our spaces. So our staff is working very hard to meet those considerable expectations and demands of our community that we're very eager to serve. Last year was not without some challenges, but happily we're on a steady course now. I think the upshot for us is that we can now base our budget and projections on a full year of inhabiting the space and really learning how the community needs to be served. So this budget is an attempt to help us answer the one major question that we have going forward, which is based on experience. How much must we adjust or recalibrate the organization to meet the robust expectations of the community? So like any business, we have to adjust our investments in programs, services, and collections to meet the demand that we're seeing. Compared to our neighboring libraries, we've been chronically underinvested in most service areas. So we're really playing a long game of catch up with our peers, especially after some of the reductions that we had to make last year due to the major grant reduction that we found at the end of the town council process. I'd just like to ask us to consider in this budget, let's not really forget we must be thinking about how does underinvestment impact us and our ability to grow? What kind of drag does underinvestment put on achievement, excellence, and innovation? And how will that impact the future of the library? So this year, we are proposing an aggregate dollar increase to our town grant of $222,000, of which the vast majority is to support new custodial and part-time facilities support roles, as well as COLA adjusted salary increases for our staff. This would be about a 4% increase over what our proposed budget was last year, and it's just under 8% of what we were allocated last year. So you'll also notice that we've increased our own revenue responsibility to roughly the same amount, the highest level that it's ever been, in order to demonstrate that we are prepared to shoulder our burden going forward. And so from this new baseline, we expect our budget to be back in alignment with town increases going forward. So again, this is a budget reset that we think speaks to certain exigent needs, and that's clear that we're experiencing this as a function of the very high usage. It's a palpable strain on operations and staff. I think it's also interesting just maybe to consider a way of looking at it is that if you look back in history, the town grant has been pretty much almost a wash with our salaries and compensation levels. To me, fundraising has always made up the difference in terms of being able to provide for our growth with our services, programs, and collections. I think of us as being self-reliant in a way for some of that. So in last year's budget cycle, we did propose an 8% increase in the budget as a reset. We got 4%, which I think was less than the overall increase in the town's budget. The resulting cuts to our budget were mostly taken in program and services for the public, as you'll see in the next slide. So we took a significant cut to programs, to IT, to our collections, compensation. We also significantly reduced our staff education budget. And just for reference, I just want to remind everyone that we are a nonprofit association library, the same model as all of our peers with the exception of Stanford. I grew up in New York City where libraries are municipally funded. And so the idea of needing fundraising in a library was new to me when I first came to New Canaan. In fact, the vast majority of libraries in our country are municipally supported, including all of their capital expenditures, which for their physical plant, which of course we cover ourselves. So in New Canaan, we benefit from a discount model. And I think we do a darn good job. We've built a pretty successful fundraising organization, which makes us good partners with the taxpayers of the town. The problem is that we can't really rely or depend on this kind of aggressive increase in goal going forward. So we really just want to get to a place where we feel like we have a sustainable level of support. Here's an area where we are not leading. We are not leading in terms of our endowment. We are under $1 million, and that is down from just over 2 million, close to 3 million. We had to spend a fair amount of our own funding to move and restore and put into place the legacy building. And so we've really depleted this account. You can see that our peer libraries really have an advantage in that so much of their operating budget can be supported by the endowment. So for us, this is a strategic priority. So let's just talk about what the budget drivers are this year. We're focused on really 3 key areas, and they're all driven by that intensity of use and public demand that we're seeing. The most important need is around facilities. We need a full-time custodian, and we need a part-time audiovisual support person. Then we need to add back to places where we cut that impact, we cut the services the most, which of course would be programs, and we need to grow in the area of digital collections. If you're not in the building every day, it's very hard to visualize the sheer volume of activity. We are jammed. And what are all of these visitors doing? So when a person enters the building, they're not just coming in and standing still. They're coming in, they're talking to the people at the service desk, they're having a coffee at the cafe, they're borrowing books, they might be using the bathroom, then they might be going back to a service desk, back to borrowing a book, they're certainly going back to the bathroom. Multiply that by 1,600 to 1,800 people. That's a tremendous amount of wear and tear on the staff and on the building. Here's one of my favorite images. It's the first bus that is unloading the first wave of teens, the middle schoolers and the high schoolers that arrive in the great numbers like the Mongol horde every afternoon. And probably my favorite anecdote, we were voted number 3 most favorite place for Saks middle schoolers to visit, right behind caffeine and ice cream. And I think that we really couldn't have done better than that.
So one of our more significant updates in our new building are our meeting spaces, which we did not have anywhere near like what we have in the old building. And that's clearly fulfilling a public need. They're in constant use by local nonprofits, students and tutors, people working from home at the library all day, every day. We have the public schools have teacher meetings there. Police have training there. Emergency management had a training there. The New Canaan Monthly Coffee is there. So all the board meetings for pretty much every nonprofit in town, you name an organization, they meet at the library. But these rooms, they turn over, the study rooms and then the larger meeting rooms, they turn over 7 times a day. And we share the spaces with our own programs as well. So thousands of programs a year. So it's just a relentless toll and turnover on our facility staff and our other staff to just keep up with that. So it really speaks to the need to have additional help, AV help, and a full-time custodian to assist with that.
We're also managing around what is for us a pretty new room rental program. We never had this in the old building. Nobody really would have wanted to rent most of our spaces back then. But now we have a significant room rentals program. And we also match that with a significant room rentals budget line in our revenues. So we have to very actively manage it in order to sort of meet our own expectations. It's not easy. If you were thinking about setting up the auditorium for, say, 300 people, that takes one person 2 hours to do themselves. And it takes 8 people 45 minutes, I learned, when I had to do it for one of our own programs. So there's really a significant amount of need. We're operating a 64-hour-a-week, 7-day-a-week business. So there's no way one person could really be doing all of this work. We really love having the teens here. We love working with them. I just show this as an example of this incredible partnership that we're able to forge. A young man from the high school came to us and wanted to have a chess tournament event day happen at the school, at the library. And you can see here, we set up hundreds of tables. We had hundreds of guests, multi-generational, everyone from my father's age down to 5-year-olds, training during the day. It's also a massive setup and breakdown effort. We really want to do these kinds of programs, but we certainly, we need more support.
So this is just a visual representation of the kind of trajectory that our door traffic has gone from, before the old building, then to COVID, then to construction, and then the last full year open. Last year was our first full year open in the new building. So we're double what we used to be before COVID, when we thought we were really, really busy.
So this is January to December, not
Nope,
our fiscal year.
This is fiscal year.
Oh, this is
So
fiscal
this
year,
was,
okay,
yep, so
okay.
this was July to June. And the interesting thing is that this number is this chart is going to go higher next year.
We would have all expected there to be a plateau after the first
Right.
year opening. We would have thought the novelty would have worn off. We would have all expected that. Year-on-year growth today, this month, is 20% above where it was last year. So that's an indication
That was
of,
surprising.
that's directional. Maybe more people are discovering us. We issued 2,200 new library cards last year to people who'd never had a library card before.
So this is just in comparison to our peer libraries. So we have the highest foot traffic among our peers, but per capita, we have the highest foot traffic in the state, entire state.
And we have the smallest footprint amongst all of our peers. So the top line takeaway is that we need to reset our baseline budget. We need more facility support staff in the form of a full-time custodian and a part-time AV tech. And this one-time realignment is necessary to serve the vastly increased public use and to retain and recruit staff who, quite frankly, are a little burned out. And let's be honest, we're welcoming some fantastic speakers. We're doing great things. We had Lydia Bastianich this year. This is an example of the Misty Copeland event we had, which had a 900-person wait list for. So I think we're getting things right.
What's
and
the
then-
capacity of this room there?
325 seated.
And 900 on the wait list.
Uh-huh,
So 1,200 plus.
correct.
Wow.
So then we also have, in addition to those big 325 person plus 900 not person programs, we have about 40 to 50 smaller workshops and classes each month for adults. Things like technology workshops, ESL, language conversation classes, hands-on instruction, things like that to teach essential skills and to foster community engagement and connection. So let's see.
So I think what's interesting is what we're asking for in terms of programs doesn't really even start to approach what our peer libraries are doing. It actually doesn't even approach what our ask was last year. We've been trying to be prudent. You'll note that our numbers in terms of what we spent was about 85,000, and you think, okay, that seems roughly in line with Darien for adult programs, but we only had half of that number as our budget, perhaps lower. We had to pull from restricted gifts in order to achieve the level of programming that we had. And that is, again, something
45
45 was our budget, right? And last year, we were asking for 90. So we're not even approaching the kinds of numbers at Darien, let alone Westport, with $280,000 are spending on their adult programs. And the only reason we were able to do this is because, again, we have these restricted, not sustainable, non-recurring gifts that we were able to apply in order to do some adult programs. But that's not a piece of a sustainable picture.
So similar story for our children's programs, which are highly beloved. So we do about 70, 80 children's programs a month, weekly story times, preschool music, after school enrichment, book groups, summer reading, with lots of outreach to schools and families with special needs, and lots of targeted, wonderful work that our families team does.
So our budget was 10,000. Darien's budget was 60-something thousand. And we did more programs and had more visitors. So again, our second budget driver is programs. Here are the increases. It's a 37.5% increase from last year, representing a 31,000 and change aggregate number.
So our third budget driver this year is collections, and specifically the budget for digital collections. So we're pretty able to be responsive with our book collections, our print book collections, but the trends clearly show that people want more digital borrowing. Digital circulation is about twice as high as it was 5 years ago, but our budget hasn't increased in that time. So the reason for that is we can't meet that demand within our current budget. And just as a point of note, unlike physical books that can be borrowed with out-of-town library cards, our digital collections are available only to New Canaan residents, New Canaan card holders. That's true for everywhere in the state. That's the deal. But even with that limitation, we have wait lists of 6 months on dozens of popular titles. And a lot of people have just reported giving up trying to borrow digitally, which is really disheartening, and it's not up to our service standards. And the reason for that is it's not that we're just not doing it. The library terms of use for digital books is painfully expensive. So you can see here, a typical new ebook or e-audiobook costs the library 5 to 6 times more what it costs an individual. And we don't get to keep that book. That book license expires after 2 years. So it's one digital copy, one user. And by the time the people who have it on hold want to get to it, we have to repurchase that $60 ebook, which would have cost an individual $11 and would have cost us in print book to buy the print book $11. So it's pretty gougy. But this is what our community wants. And they expect from us. This budget proposes an increase of $18,000 for ebooks, which we expect will cut the wait lists in half, if our math is right.
So you prioritize them by most popular?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. Licenses. So not even
That's
individual
enough?
books, right? Because for some things, we have to buy multiple licenses if anybody wants to have a chance to read that book.
So again, we're pretty modest, we think, in our request. Compare with our peers, Darien Library's budget for their digital collection is more than double ours. So this is where libraries are going. Again, summarizing, 22% increase in our digital collections budget for a total of $23,500. So here's the overview, our staffing numbers, programs, collections, and then there's another bucket of infrastructure, admin, and others, which represents another 18% of the increase. I think interesting to note, we had to cut back on our IT budget last year. We were able to backfill with a donor. Again, we brought all of our old computers from the old library into the new building so as to save ourselves that cost initially, but we're well past a 3-year cycle for replenishment replacement, and we need to really build in infrastructure and hardware for as part of our budget. Again, I think also our building systems do so much more than they ever did in the old building. The HVAC is much more sophisticated. The building management systems are more sophisticated. We're needing to sign service contracts that look a bit different in terms of what we're asking people to check up on for us. And I think it's not surprising that those numbers would also be not going down for us, but they're well within range. I think particularly when it comes to numbers like energy, which are included in infrastructure, you're going to see that we're doing actually much better than we had thought we might be doing. Also, just pointing out, these numbers do not include any increases that might be associated with renovations and operation in the legacy 1913 building.
So just wanted to touch on energy because I know it always comes up. So last year was our first full year in the new building. And so here's a look at a full year of data from the fiscal year 2019 versus fiscal year 24. So you can see that even in our new all electric building, as opposed to the old one that had oil heating, we did use less kilowatt hours of electricity, but you can also see the unit cost of the price from Eversource has gone up. So that cost us, $30,000 more to use less kilowatt hours of electricity. So even with that, which is a good news story, we weren't quite seeing the returns that we were hoping for in terms of that energy savings. So we underwent a commissioning exercise to ensure we were operating at optimal efficiency, and several steps were taken from that. And in addition, our solar came fully online, which has helped immensely. And we were also a construction site for a part of that year. So this year's data we think should be our real new steady state. And it's, as you can see here from this chart, it's really much better and more in line with what we were expecting. So we, the first 6 months of this fiscal year versus the first 6 months of last fiscal year, we've used 30% electricity this year than last year.
30% less.
Yep. And 50% less than the same amount of time in the old building. So we're feeling really good about that, but you can see the orange line is that Eversource price going the wrong direction for us. So
the public option cost, isn't that amortization done in May?
Yeah.
So then their energy costs from last year is inflated, but it's going to come down to a degree after May.
Public benefit.
Benefit, yeah. We'll see.
So it's guaranteed. I mean, that piece of it is already, if they have to amortize over a 10-month period, the cost of the,
Public option.
yeah. So that is definitely coming down.
We heard that in the Pura talk at the library.
Yes.
Together.
You did.
So we're subject to whatever source sets, but we're feeling good about our part of the usage. And so this budget that we figured increases only 6% from what we budgeted last year, and 9% less than what we actually spent last year on energy. So.
Okay, so grounding in numbers. These are the aggregates. These are the percentages in terms of our revenue lines. Again, it's just under 8% one time year over year. Noting again that responsibility for fundraising is above that level. And assuming that we get this approved, we would just like to reiterate that we anticipate staying well within guidance going forward with other town department budgets from this point forward. Again, the question that has to be asked, of course, is what happens if we don't make this adjustment, and what are the implications down the line? I think apart from the Board of Ed, we're probably the place where more people from our community are visiting every single day. And if we can't fulfill the demands that we're seeing, we're likely going to see a lowering of service levels or a shortening of hours, certainly a deterioration of usage. And I think what we're going to see is really a diminution in confidence, which as a long-standing fundraiser, I can tell you is not going to lead to increased philanthropic success, not to mention staff recruitment challenges. We're outperforming our peers on the revenue front. We've said that before. Again, we're very similar in that mix of 75-25, where 75% is town support and 25% is philanthropy. Last year, it was a 69 town, 31 philanthropy. Like to draw your attention to the fact that on our bar chart, there is no orange line. We do not receive any income from our endowment. We can look at this as a percentage.
Well,
That's
you
just
you
a
called
choice,
you called
though.
that out. I was going to wait because you told me to wait 20 minutes
Yeah,
before
you
I
can
asked my
read-
question.
okay, that's for no
But
problem.
since you opened that door, why?
Why?
Just because it's too low, or do you don't, the endowment's not big enough, so you don't want to draw down on it? What everyone else is taking out 2 or 3 or 4 or 5%, we're 0.
So we're going to show you what the numbers are for those endowments. They're 8-figure endowments.
We saw 'em.
Can't draw from our endowment until
It reaches a threshold of 3 million.
That's the answer. Okay.
That is the answer. But even if it was 3 million, typically a draw would be a 4% number. It's still not really substantial for us to
Got it.
really have a material impact. We're looking at an 8-figure endowment need, long-term strategy wise for us.
Yeah, but we literally can't.
50, and what is their endowment?
Like 3 million?
Under 2, just under 2.
That's a choice. It's just your.
Yeah, well,
it's a
so that's right.
choice.
We have a bylaws. We have something that's been in our bylaws for many, many years. That's true. It is a choice. Okay. And here's where we sit compared to our peers on a bunch of different measures, our town grant per capita. Just showing this, not to sound in any way ungrateful, for which we are super grateful for all of the funding we get from the town. Just to say, we just feel that we're very much in line, not asking for something that's out of the ordinary. Again, because we're often asked and happy to answer any questions here, none of this budget anticipates additional changes to our operating budgets going forward once we renovate and begin to operate in the legacy building. We've spent $2.4 million to date to move and resettle the legacy building. We're in the very early stages of forming an advisory committee, which will help us bring in voices both from the community as well as from town government. Just remind everyone, this is a pretty limited space. It's about the size of a swimming pool, and it must have 2 ADA compliant bathrooms within this swimming pool size space. So that is a bit of a operational challenge, use challenge. And again, the construction and operating funding sources remain the only real obstacle to progress here. I will say also, in light of our other financial exigencies, there is an order of operations, what comes first. So we'd like to just thank you for listening to us today, and be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions? You could probably stop sharing so we can see the people online. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, so James and I are the liaisons from the Board of Finance to the library. We had the opportunity to meet with the library team to go over this budget and a liaison meeting with colleagues from town council. James couldn't make the meeting, but he got a tour of the library, which I think filled in a lot of his knowledge. So I think we're kind of up to speed of what's going on. First off, there's a couple of important people here in the room, which you people on the Board of Finance may not know, but there's President of the Board of Trustees of the library, Rob Lowe, and one of the town trustees, Doug Stewart. So these are very important people. I don't know if everybody here knows them, but you should know them. And they're very much involved in the governance of the library. One of the things, library.
You missed a few other people. Eileen Thomas is on the board.
Yes, but I don't know everybody on the board.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll help you.
But the president of the board and the town trustee should be pointed out. Eileen, sorry. So, there's a couple of things in this presentation that are important to think about, which, so last year, without kind of a big surprise, the budget was cut by $120,000 at the 107 at the final hearing for the budget approval. And so the result of that, as the team has pointed out, library team has pointed out, resulted in some changes to what they could do this year. Part of that was bridged by their ability to raise money, which is really quite extraordinary. But as they point out, you can't rely on that. I mean, you know it's out there. You know you have the ability to raise the money. But you don't know in any given year if you're going to raise 600,000 or 800,000, and how it's going to come into you. And a lot depends on the donor events and how popular they are, and whether somebody's in the mood to write an emergency big check or not. And so there's a range, but it's a range. You can't just say, well, last year they had 8, this year they should have 9. It doesn't go that way. I think a part of the problem with the budget cut last year is that there were a number of things that were not fully understood. One has to do with the utility cost, which was addressed today. There was a sense that the cost of operating the library was way out of line with what the town expected. And what that was used as part of an explanation for why the library should be, the budget should be cut. The problem arose from the fact that without a full year of operation, it was almost impossible to tell what that cost was going to be. After a full year, they're able to demonstrate what the promise of the new library always was, which that it should cost less to operate than the old building. Well, that's true in terms of energy units, but it's not true in terms of energy costs. Now, perhaps, we'll get some refunds from Eversource, but who knows, right? But anyway, so that little mystery is kind of put aside. Some of the other things which are overlooked is like the cost of the collection. It's really quite eye-opening when you think that the demand is in the area of digital content, and the cost of digital content is outrageously expensive. And libraries across the country have to pay very high rates for materials. And although there is a national effort by libraries to address this with publishers, the facts still are as they are today. It costs 5 times more to do for libraries to have a digital content than for us, the public. the cost of operating the building. So with this foot traffic going through, which we saw has gone up tremendously this year, and which it looks like it's going to go up again next year, and maybe at some point it plateaus out, but it's going to plateau out of the high level. So when you think of these on the slides, you saw one slide of the big conference room at the library, the Tate Room, set up for a meeting, conference meeting with teens that I think were teens all around the table. Then there was another photo of the same room set up for this chess tournament. Well, all those chairs, all those tables have to be moved around, and it takes library staff to do that, and as opposed, so this custodial need is a real function that needs to be addressed. The AV, if you ever go to the library and you have, there's AV available everywhere, but not everybody knows how to use it. And the AV guy is really stretched pretty thin. So they need more AV support.
That's all in one role at the moment. The facilities
Yeah.
manager is both facilities manager, custodian, and AV support.
Yeah, it's so,
One person has those three roles at the
yeah,
moment.
I don't see how that guy, stays on the payroll and doesn't
And the
go
7-day,
someplace else.
64-hour service.
So, so from the operating viewpoint, I think what the library is asking for seems to be a reasonable number. And if you look at it, if last year the budget had been approved as we had approved it, and as was subsequently cut, the library would be coming to us this year with a 4% increase request. So, it's a little bit, okay, fine, you didn't want to pay for it last year, but the need remains, and it's just been carried over and needs to be addressed this year, or we're going to have this wonderful operation is not going to be able to perform at an optimal level for us. On the question of endowment, so the library's endowment dates back to about 2010. And the library got a very large gift of over $4 million, which allowed it to do some land acquisitions and a number of other things. And they put $900,000 into the endowment. That started the endowment. And over the years, they've been able to grow it. And of course, the market's helped. And so they had over, 2 million plus. Well, that money had to be used to address the stabilization, the movement and stabilization of the 1913 building, which was an unfunded mandate from the town of Canaan to the library. So at some point that money had to come out. And there was talk, we all remember this, of allowing the library to borrow under the line of credit to refund its endowment. But the library felt that there was no identifiable source of repayment, and they really didn't want to assume that financial risk. So they, passed on that opportunity, and now they have the line that was in place for the donations to the main capital campaign, which I think is getting paid
facility?
down at a pretty
Yeah, so we
rapid
had a
pace.
$10 million facility that was available to us. We've borrowed 4 in total. We've paid down a total, we're down to a balance of 2.4, and I think you'll see in the next week, we'll probably cut that down even further.
Yeah, so that is, really excellent news. So, those are some of the highlights I think that we need to keep in mind of the dynamics of this
Use the
budget
mic.
request.
Yeah, use
Yeah, I think
it's
there's
more comfortable to lean back. Nobody can. hear.
yeah, nobody can hear me. So I think that's the from my takeaway, I would be very supportive of this budget. I think they've thought it through. They're certainly able to answer any questions that we might have. And I would hope that the town as a whole will be supportive of this request.
James, anything you
James?
want to add?
Yeah, just, so on a year, if we compounded both years and you got, what'd you get, like 3.5% increase last year after the cut, or
4%.
4%?
Mhm.
And this, so this 8% or so, it'd be about 6% a year.
It'd be 4%. So if we had achieved, oh, I'm sorry, you're saying
Over the 2 years.
Over the 2 years.
the 2 years, yes.
Percent, it would be
On
4
average.
and 8, so about 6% a year, right? I think it.
Okay, if you say so.
No, is my math incorrect or?
He's saying if you add the,
If you
Divided by
add,
2.
yeah, yeah, roughly. So I mean, not that that's, I think considering
yeah.
the increase in the number of people that are coming, I think that's a reasonable amount. But I just want to be clear, everybody knows kind of what the numbers are roughly. So it would be not an 8 and 8. You only got half of your 8 last year, so it'd be a 4 and 8.
Correct.
Okay.
But the 8 is a catch-up, right?
It is.
And you hope that's a level set.
Mhm.
Bob or Steve, Michael, and you guys are online there. You heard the input and presentation. Any questions?
Yeah.
I was curious about one, one thing. I was reading the notes that town council questions. And I guess the town pays the healthcare for employees at the library. I don't know if that's true of the other towns in our peer group. I'm just curious, how many people are full-time that would be on the town's healthcare?
So it's, we have 23 full-timers. I think 19 of those take the town benefits.
Okay. And then one other question, just back to the 1913, that was kind of a blow that you guys had to absorb that really wasn't contemplated. I'm just trying to get my head around what that money came out of the endowment. What did that hit? And also, what the heck are we going to do with it? I mean, it's going to be
Yeah.
expensive to take that.
We took a
Can we leave it the way it is? I just don't see a vision for that.
We took a substantial amount from our endowment. We also had some cash that was in surplus that we were able to draw from. We had an ability to reallocate some funding from other areas. In terms of what the future use is, it's a challenge. We definitely built a building that we thought was perfect for our need. And so this becomes something that was maybe outside of what we had envisioned. But I will say that, there's a lot of interest in the community to ensuring that we do have access, people have access to the building. And I think just given the sheer volume of pressure we have on our spaces, it wouldn't surprise me that there be an additional room use component for meetings, frankly. We've got 9 meeting spaces. They're fully booked all of the time. So if we had another conference room or a flex space, the challenge for us is how are we staffing it going forward? What type of supervision does it require? And then what are the energy costs that are associated with it? It's plumbed for sewer, water, electricity. How often are we going to keep it open? What is it going to cost to fit it out? We're starting to get an idea of the picture, but quite honestly, we're trying to really be thoughtful and be inclusive as we come to a determination, because we don't want it to be superfluous or surplus to need. We want it to actually be something that's useful.
But as it's currently sitting there, it's not, other than the foregone money that you had to put in, it's not.
It doesn't have a
costing
function at
anything.
the moment. Yes.
So it's just sort of vacant. And so if you hadn't had to put in, and I missed the number if you said it, that
2.4 million.
2.4 million, wow. So that money obviously could have been a plug for your operating budget too, that got cut. I'm just trying to get a holistic feel for that. There were a lot of people that wrote emails about that, but I don't know that they were thinking about what stress that put on the library.
Yeah, I don't think that there was a lot of discussion about the long-term impact financially to us of this, the burden going forward, as well as the obvious upfront costs to renovate the space. And again, some of the renovation estimates, you're not going to be surprised to learn that they're in the 7-figure range.
Yeah.
So it's a real challenge for us, and it's something that's top of mind, but it has to sit in the balance against our other fundraising needs, both with respect to the operating budget as well as this longer term financial stability picture, which is really all about endowment.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. And
Library-
also, you guys have to pay, we're not on the hook for capital for the library, so that would be a capital expenditure going forward. So it's really I just want to point out the challenge that, you know, kind of has created. Anyway, thank you very much for the information.
Hang on, guys. Michael, anything?
Yeah, just a quick thing, you know, thank you for the presentation. Good story, great growth in visitors in the last year. And I understand the reset, right, this year coming up for the 8% growth versus last year's cut. How comfortable are you that this is a one-time reset, that going forward, they'll be back down to the more normal growth rates year to year, if you get the 8% this year?
I'd say that, you know, of all the variable costs in our budget, I mean, 70% of our budget is salaries and compensation. We have a fair amount of control over that. Where do we have the highest rate of variability? It's certainly our energy costs. It's certainly, you know, maintenance issues. If we have another flood that isn't, you know, in our plan and not fully funded, supported by the insurance, that's another variable we can't really predict. But I think we're pretty confident, Michael. I should say we're committed.
Committed, okay. I like that word. Committed is better than confident. Thank
I thought
you.
you were asking if there are going to be pickleball courts in the Legacy.
Well,
Jan,
there
did you-
was, then they can grow at 12%.
That's a moneymaker. Go ahead.
Just a quick question. Any thought about passing along to some of the people that are using the facility, passing along some of those costs for the building?
That was my thought as well. Can you ask for voluntary donations when people book rooms for, let's say, extended periods? You know,
Well, yeah, so the spaces we offer to the public are free. You might want to answer this. You know, if you're a citizen, a resident of New Canaan, there's an opportunity to turn up and have a 90-minute spot in one of our small 4-person rooms. You can book ahead online for some of our larger rooms. If you're a New Canaan nonprofit, you have a 2-hour window that is for free. That's part of the service, the way we help lever our nonprofit partners. Everyone else is being charged a fee. So if you're trying to have a business meeting, we had Rings End, for example, host a very large corporate event. And that was a nice opportunity for us to earn income. And so we definitely make an effort. And in our budget, there's a line item that is, I think, about $54,000 for us to sort of self-fund and a rental income strategy. So we're very much on top of that.
so your presentation was very informative and very thoughtful. So I really
I
appreciate
guess,
it.
I just had one more question.
Yes, of course.
What, do you have an idea of what it costs to kind of just carry the older building in terms of kind of
Yeah.
utility? It can't be below freezing, the pipes are freeze.
So
right?
we put in the budget a $1,200 number for insurance. We actually just got our new insurance reassessment, and they don't actually piece out, you know, they don't pull out exactly specifically what that number is for them. We've just sort of made a rough estimate. There are no utility costs because there is no electricity that's currently going to the building. So apart from the insurance, we're not really having any expense at the
And
moment.
no water in the pipes.
It's in your book. It's a big zero except for the $1,200 for insurance.
Yeah, so to the questions that Bob had about the endowment, so the library's bylaws state that they can't take money out of the endowment until it had reached $3 million. Had they not used a good part of it to cover the cost of the move and stabilization of the 1913 building, you know, they'd probably within a year or two, they'd be getting to a point where they could take out 4 or 5% of it. That's not great, but it is some. Now that it's at 900,000, the bylaws are what they are. And, you know, good prudent management would say, let's get that number back up before we start rating it again.
Victor and Nick?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. So one of the compelling slides for me was the fact that in fiscal year 23, you had 200,000 visitors, and then it jumped to 350,000. And this is after the new library had been open for a while. If you get similar growth in the subsequent year, I would think that trying to hold you to a 4% growth on your budget would be penny wise, pound foolish. So I think with results like that, it's just, that's a win-win for everybody. And I think the town should consider increasing the subsequent year's budget based on what the visitor stats are doing.
I asked my questions, but clearly the demand and the town wants this, they like it. As evident with the visitor numbers. And I concur here that the increase in funding should be more commensurate with the increased visitor numbers. And I'd be disappointed if anybody would cut that again.
Thank you.
Did you have a comment you want to make?
No, I think that, we'll just let it stand there.
So I have a couple thoughts. First of all, thank you for a beautiful product in the smack in the middle of our town. And every single time you drive by, you go, holy cow, did we really do that? It is gorgeous in the snow. It's gorgeous in the summer. It's amazing. And so I would just say that. Second of all, I was going to say what Victor said. I wouldn't walk around saying we think we're going to cap out at this rate of increase. Don't lock yourself into that. I don't know. You don't know. We had people donate how much? 35 million?
30 million and change.
In change. And you're asking for $200,000, which roughly, that's why James is here, is less than 0.25% of our budget. Let me say that again, less than 0.25% of our budget. So I think we have to be careful about nitpicking on this and the utility that. You've done the whole team has done an amazing job here in this town. Let's just be honest. When I see these numbers, plus or minus, you're talking about over 400,000, maybe you're projecting for this fiscal year. That's just kind of what are we talking about? So I even was surprised. I was expecting this conversation, and I realized you only have 2% for your facility, buildings, and ground, if that's accurate.
That's right.
Well, that's a pretty good estimate. A couple of years. I mean, so anyway, all I would say is you're being very prudent, very responsible. I can just sense the team is very stressed trying to deliver on an amazing product where, let's remind everybody again, people in this town donate $30 million. I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we live up to the promise that we committed to when we put the 10 million up and when we wanted to continue to be a partner here. So anyway, we don't vote on this tonight, but I think you've got a lot of support for an amazing job. And we should be grateful to you for everything that's been done. So
it's very heartening. I mean, we really approach this as partners with the town. We really try to be fiscally prudent. I think you can understand that Cheryl in particular and myself now, we've done such a dive into our budget. We know where every penny is going, and we really are committed to ensuring we're spending things well with accountability. And we know we know where to make an adjustment as needed. But if we didn't have as much stress, that certainly would help everyone.
Feel it. You do generate revenue. If I got this right, it's $90,000, right?
Lease with our cafe tenant as well as our rental income. Yeah.
I'm sure there's revenue opportunities and you'll continue to play on those, but
heard about
we're not here to micromanage your budget. You're doing an amazing job.
Tell you all about it.
And let's remember the library gets their budget just like the Board of Ed as a block grant.
Yeah. Deanna?
Yeah, I just, not to micromanage, but one of the comments you made kind of raised a question and then I went back. So I see your adult and children program expenditures for the programs. What I don't see is for each town a corresponding revenue. So, because I know not all programs are free, most of them are, but so it would be interesting to see the overlay of revenue by town with the expense for each of those towns, just to get a perspective of
programs.
Yes.
The other, our neighboring libraries do not.
Not for any programming?
Programs other
Okay.
than their fundraising.
All right. And then
It's a
the other
state tax
question,
statute.
I have is, so the Misty Copeland, and I know you've had some other very large name people, and
Naomi
to
Watts.
have a 900 person waiting list just begs the question of, did you price it appropriately?
Yeah.
And I know you, so
Yeah.
to
Something to
me,
look at.
so that,
Sure.
yeah, because I
Sure.
know some of them, I know, when somebody was 50, I saw something recently.
Naomi Watts was, yes, so that's an example of something that we do that's unique.
Right. So what was the wait list for Naomi Watts? So again, like, to me, you have an opportunity. Those are not day-to-day programming. You have an opportunity there.
We
to
do.
sort of,
So I totally agree, and I totally have my eye on that. And we did more for others. You know, it's a question of gauging celebrity attractiveness in all of those things. And also, you don't want to wear out your community. It's got to happen on a limited basis. Mostly this is driven by the way the publishing industry has been restructured, wherein you bring a Naomi Watts to the community with the promise that you're going to sell her book. And we partner with Elm Street Books in order to make that happen. And where we can, we put a VIG on top of what we're doing. We try to really limit the amounts of times we do that, because essentially, what is the function of a public library? Library is a place which is meant to offer free and open access to information to the community. That is at its core, the ethos of a library. And we really can't forget that, despite our fundraising need. We must really keep that in mind. So we are very selective when we're choosing to do what we call a special program. Now, Al Roker, you know, he was popular. We charged a little extra. We made some money. But these are not events that are moving the needle, right? Those raise in the thousands, not like our major event, which raises in the hundreds of thousands. So we try not to, you know, and to be honest, I want to also say something. I think we're very conscious of the fundraising need that exists for all of our neighboring nonprofit partners. And there's a limit. We do the best we can, and we do a good job and deliver great opportunities for people. But I'm very conscious, being in this community and as someone who cares a great deal about a lot of the other nonprofits that are here, we can't be the 900-pound elephant that takes all the air out of the room for them. We really want them to have their capital campaigns and their annual appeals, et cetera. And so, you know, it's kind of hard, because of course we could hire many more people in our fundraising effort to raise much more money, but I'm not sure that would really satisfy what I heard last year from the folks in the town council. And I don't think it's really who we are.
It's not free. It's $4 million. Just remember.
Yes. Yes.
So. You have a question?
No, no.
Okay, excellent. That was terrific. Thank you. If there are any other questions, then from anyone? Very good. Okay, great job. All right, and I believe we are done, Tucker. All right, motion to adjourn. Second? Second? The Victor and Nick show on these things. Oh my gosh. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, none? So moved. Thank you all very much.